On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues, and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy.
So what's in today's show, Mr. John?
Well, Hennis, it's a good one this week because we meet up with our old friend Ian Squibbs, who is looking at the truth behind the story of the Lough Erne monster. And we also revisit our old friends in Denmark who are talking about elves. Elves having a picnic.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Downs, and welcome to another episode of What's That Happening Over There? Bernard Matthews turkey steaks. Moist, tender and delicious. All you have to do is cook them. I'm too lazy. I'll eat them raw. I'm so clever. Let's try it again. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Downs. I'm the director of an organisation called the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. This is a show which goes out for half an hour every Saturday afternoon and for about half that every Wednesday evening, in which we discuss stuff as hard science, weird shit and surreality. What's surreality? Well, I think I've told you enough times by now.
Hello, I am Max Ernst, and if you do not know what surreality is, then you should probably ask Lop Lop.
And now I want to go over to our old friends Simon Johansson and Thomas Jorgensen, who are talking about, amongst other things, elves who appear to be having a party on a small Danish island. But before we go, I just have a little message for Simon, who asked me the other day, or rather he commented the other day, that he didn't know enough about British culture to be able to understand Richard Freeman's sense of humour. The answer is, Simon, my dear boy, nobody understands Richard Freeman's sense of humour, and it is just there. It just is, in the same way as Mount Everest is, and the dodo probably isn't.
The final thing on my list is the elf sighting at Kirsten Hvids Hill, and that's a less well-known entity encounter that I thought of covering, precisely because Jonathan, you have covered modern-day elf and fairy encounters with Alison Johnlin, Richard Freeman, and Ronan Coughlin on the track previously, and again, that's something that isn't that easy to explain as the sightings of flesh and blood, undiscovered animals, and things that fall outside that box is something that the CFZ are among the few people in cryptozoology who are willing to cover at all. And again, that's why you call it Fortean zoology again. Anyway, we don't know when the elf sighting at the Kirsten Hvids Hill first happened, but the earliest account we have of it was written down in November 1906, and comes from the Danish folklore collection, and describes it happening at a small burial mound near Stiesnes Harbor on the southeast coast of Zealand. The first version was recorded by one witness who was there along with their father, a man called Lars Olsen from Klintehuset. That was like the third person, and the fourth witness being the stool teacher Knudsen. They were rowing home from Agersø, the nearest island, one night when the moon was full. The water was clear like a mirror, and the weather completely still. When they came by the forest clearing, making way for the coast, they saw hundreds of candles burning in a circle on the burial mound, and a dozen or so white-clad figures playing around on the meadow. Not a single sound was heard during this encounter, and again, that's something that's also very often noted with quite a few of the weirder UFO encounters. And these white-clad figures, they then ran down to the coast and looked at the people in the boat. And the people in the boat, they did not think that the entities who had come down from the hill to the coast, they were human. The next day, when they had come home, the people who had rowed there in the boat, they asked the local forester if there had been any festive gathering in the area, only to be told by the forester there had not. In the second version, that comes from the local archive in Holsteinborg, where the mount is called Maren Hinds Hill. According to a folklorist named Mads Lidegaard, the witnesses in that one, they were like two people, a teacher and a fisherman, who were rowing home drunk from a party at also at Agersø. After they saw the entities who here are described as elves and all being female, no gender was specified in the first version, and likewise in the first version, the witnesses had no idea what the entities were, other than that they were not human. Here, the two witnesses, they would, after that encounter, after the intoxication had subsided, form the local abstinence association. And one thing that should be noted is that this trip, it takes 15 minutes to sail there by a motor-powered ferry. So rowing that long while drunk, that is very, very difficult. And neither of those two names for the mount, they are currently in official use, and no folklorist has been able to find out who either Kirsten Hvid or Maren Hind they were. However, Mads Lidegaard, that folklorist whom I mentioned, he was able to find the most likely burial mound that was the site for this elf sighting, and that's the one that we have chosen as the location for that point for the elf sighting at our on our interactive map. And we also have included a photo of that hill Mads Lidegaard thinks most likely is that burial mound, because there are several burial mounds in that area.
Yeah, I'm not actually 100% sure, but if it's not that one, it's one next to it. And in this case, I think it was the whole area. It was so different back then. Now there's like a harbor area with the ferry ticket office and parking space and all this. So it's very difficult to imagine how it would have looked back then. But the general area, it must be where we marked it. So, but you have, Simon, you should show your illustration actually, because we use that also. But it's an interesting case, and I think generally that area of Denmark, Zealand, has the best and most, let's say, living folklore still in existence. Not so far from where this happened, there is still one of the last, if not the last, like we call it a manepæl, like a binding pole for spirits made of wood. It's near an estate a little bit north from there. And that pole, that tradition is still in existence. It's still shifted out. And we have many, not just that pole, but crosses around the area, which are still being renewed. When they get too old, there is one or two caretakers that step in and say, okay, it's time for a new cross. And the story behind these crosses are also like fading out into folklore. But there have been recent attempts to, just say, okay, we won't renew it. And then something happened, like up until fairly recently. So the speculation is there could have been these crosses many, many places, but they died as soon as people stopped believing that it would do anything if you remove them. But a very few ones exist still, and that's in this southwestern part of Zealand. The most famous cross, because I think it's also it's the most visible, so many cars are driving on this road every day, is the cross at Konradinesløst. It's the newest one, was a few years ago put up. It's a black big cross near the roadside. It's kind of ominous if you drive past it and you don't know what it is. There's like a stone, kind of, what do you call it, like English word, like, like a wall of stone, and it's like placed up there. And if you don't know what it is, you're like, okay, we don't see many crosses in Denmark, especially on the roads. We're not a Catholic country. We haven't been for many hundreds of years. But this could have been a remnant back from the Catholic times. But there is folklore connected to this, which also involves a black dog. Well, the legend says that a young girl, there's like variations of it, but a young girl from one of the nearby estates was out walking alone, either back from a celebration, or in any case, it's like a warning tale. Young girls at this time are not expected to walk around alone. She gets attacked by one or two robbers, and they kill her. And she has a little dog with her. That's most of the stories. There's a little dog, and this dog ends up running back and finds the place where they disposed of her body. And either the place where they was disposed of or where she actually died, this is where this cross exists still today. And it goes back hundreds of years. And there's absolutely no like living. There are a few people, a handful of people who believe today that there's something about it, and there probably was. But it can also have been a Catholic kind of road sign that just merged into a folkloric Little Red Riding Hood kind of tale. But the thing about the dog is, this is one of the few areas where we have like one of these black dog stories, because the little dog, okay, that's not really falling into that category. But later there is like a story about a workman, a carpenter or something, who drove past the place, and he had the sensation of something jumping up on his shoulders. And it was like it got heavier and heavier. It's something we hear before in other cases also. And he realized it was a big dog that kind of, held him down with its gravity. And he passed out, and he woke up the next day, and his tale kind of lived on. But the newest story is from around the same time as the one Simon told. And I think I'm just going to read it here because we translated it. So it involves two brothers, both in the 30s. One summer summer evening in 1905, they were out bicycling in the area around the Konradinesløst cross. As they approached the cross, they saw what looked like a large dog standing out in the middle of the road, its eyes glowing from the reflection of the bicycle lights. They both figured that the animal would be scared and run away when they got closer, but instead something very strange happened. Suddenly the dog let out a moan and almost seemed like it melted into some kind of mass covering the whole road. As the brothers tried to ride over the mass, their bikes got so stuck that it was almost impossible to advance further. They described it as if a heavy weight was suddenly placed over them. Only after great effort could they finally break away and bicycle away at a normal pace again. When they got home, the bikes were thoroughly examined for remnants of the sticky material, but there was never any trace found of it. But this is a really, really credible case, and it was recorded in a folkloric historical association journal, and it's taken quite seriously because the people involved were respected people of the community, and there would be no reason to make up a story like that. So that's kind of the newest thing we have around there that we know, but there can be many personal stories existing that we just haven't picked up on yet.
That is fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you for giving me up so much of your time. And I tell you what, I want to do this again sometime, because I'm sure you've got all sorts of other stories you haven't told me yet. So, did you notice, by the way, as soon as you said the word little dog, Archie's ears pricked up?
Great.
I didn't
didn't see
notice.
it.
I didn't see it either. But again, that's an interesting synchronicity for sure.
For sure.
And again, this story again it reminds of this the black dog at Conradinus course. It reminds me of again Black Shuck and all those ghostly black dogs and ghostly black giant cats that you have in like the United Kingdom, and how all these especially the dogs, but also quite a few of the cats, they are often described as acting as something more than just again flesh and blood animals.
Actually, with this case, I sent it to Jerome Clark a few years ago because he described like a recurring incident he had with some cat dog like thing outside his house, like a black shape that kind of melted into the background. And I think also his dad had some old story that he told him similar to that. And he like said, yeah, it's very similar to that. But I mean, it just shows that this kind of thing is this like I guess you would call it still zoo form phenomena or something like this. Yeah, it's very intangible, but can feel very real.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are again with our old friend Ian Squibbs, who's probably my favourite reoccurring guest on the show because we always have fun. I still want to apologise how when we were talking some weeks ago, it was after I'd just come out of hospital and I fell asleep in the middle of it because my blood pressure had dropped so high, so low. And Ian told me I should have kept that in with the sight of him talking earnestly and me snoring away. But I think that I'm too vain for that. So, what are we talking about today, Ian?
Well, hello there, John. It's good to be back on CF Said TV and have another look at some of the unsolved mysteries of the universe and beyond. So, today, we're going to have a look at an Irish lake monster report and the accompanying lesser-known lake monster photo. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, all right. I've not read a newspaper for many years due to us now having the internet and mobile devices. So what's the point? But I used to read newspapers, and newspapers on a Sunday were always good, as you would get the free Sunday supplement magazine as well as the main newspaper. And we can see such a magazine now. If we just have a look at the picture there, John, there's one of the sort of the free magazines they give away. The red tops would give you a glossy take a break type supplement, as we can see there, consisting of many adverts just for rubbish, news about soap operas and celebrity gossip, and just general nonsense of no interest to most people with half a brain cell. However, what I did like about these magazines and supplements was they would quite regularly have articles about UFOs, ghosts, and other unexplained subject matter. It was in a Sunday supplement that I first saw the photos of the Solway Firth spaceman and the Ilkley alien. One such article that I read was about an Irish lake monster. They also provided a photo of the monster. It was a good article, and I had not seen the photo before. And then as the years went by, I could always remember the article, though I could not remember in what publication I read it or when I read it. Now, with myself being a 14 investigator and writer, the internet has now become my most valuable tool. And during one of my many online searches for lake monsters, I came across the article again many years after I first read it. So, it was published in the Sunday People magazine on August the 22nd, 1999. And it reads as follows. O'Nessie makes a splash. Mystery monster has made an Irish waterway its home, along with a picture of the alleged piast. So, refers to the creature as a piast, and a piast is a Gaelic term for a worm, beast, monster, or pest, amongst other things. So, and in English, the word piast means that you've drunk too much. Anyway, the article comes courtesy of reporter Stephen Maguire, who, having laid his hands on the photo, stated, "This is the first picture of Ireland's own Loch Ness monster." The photograph was taken by Sean Walsh, who was in a boat on the Lough Erne waterway in Killikeen, County Cavan. One Claudia Westrich was swimming alongside the boat when she felt something pushing her down. She thought it was an oar from the boat accompanying her on the swim, but when she looked up, the vessel was 5 meters away. She tried to get a look at the creature, but it dived under the water. Walsh is quoted as saying, "I was photographing calves on the foreshore when I developed the film, I realized what I'd taken. This does seem rather odd, as the photograph seems to implicitly show Miss Westrich and something in the water rather than young bovines on land." So, John, without further ado, let's have a look at the photo in question and see what we think. So, there we go. There's the photo there. So we have Miss Westrich doing front crawl. Then, directly behind her, in the water, is some peculiar object in what would appear to be a hot pursuit. So yeah, strange photo. What do you make of that, John? What's your opinion on that one? And have you seen that photo before?
I've not.
As well.
That's
So
why I'm peering at it in more detail on my iPad, because I've never.
Yeah. Yes. It's strange. I've never seen it before or since. And the only time I did see it was in the Sunday People magazine with this article. So.
Well, there's one lovely bit of
an unusual sight.
There's one lovely bit of simulacra. I don't know if I can see it close up enough.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
I've got it here. There's one lovely bit of simulacra.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at it close, it makes the one behind Miss Erdrich looks like a question mark. Which
Yes.
I think that's rather cute. I like similarities.
Even adding more to the mystery.
Yeah, I like similarities. Same way as I like
So yeah,
Lexilinks. But what is it? I've got no idea whatsoever.
nice. Yeah, me neither. Oh, I've got to admit, it is the strangest monster I have ever seen. It's some kind of spiky form in the water there, isn't there? But yeah, okay. So, and also it looks like it had a 2-page spread as the scan of the photo has a crease down the middle. So that's obviously a double-paged. So anyway, so there's not a lot of detail there, though there is something there. I'm not impressed at this stage, but interestingly, John, you had your own encounter with an Irish lake monster many years ago, didn't you? And you caught it on, which is good.
Yeah, this was
Yep.
back in 20, I'm talking nonsense, 2009, when I was with
Yeah.
my late wife, Dr. Max Blake, who's an old friend of mine, and my adopted nephew, and the notorious Tony Shields, Doc Shields. And he said that he was, I'm just trying to find a better picture of it, I'm trying to find a better version of the Lough Erne one just to see if I could see one that doesn't have the circle right around it, but I can't. So we were up at
Yeah, I've tried as well.
we were up looking at the three lochs of Killarney, and in the top one, which I believe is called Muckross, I was looking down and I was thinking, this is the most dull lake I've ever seen. There's no signs of any life at all here. And I said so, and I think I annoyed Doc Shields, who's very possessive of anything to do with Ireland. And he started muttering something and waving his arms about. And suddenly the loch came to life. There were lots of different animals to be seen. There was what looked like an otter. There were lots of different water birds. There was something which appeared to be swimming underwater, which I wouldn't like to say now whether it was a cormorant or something like that, or whether it was something unknown. And there were three amorphous looking white things swimming, huge white things swimming up at the top of the loch as we were standing. Max Lake, God bless him, who is now a respected zoologist, he filmed them. He filmed the whole thing. I put the whole thing up onto YouTube, and it set off about a year of me being trolled by all and sundry, accusing me of faking it. How I would have faked it, I don't know. Faking it to make money, but I was only in the whole show to make money. I was only in the whole business to make money, that I was a criminal, I was fraudster, and then really nasty allegations that I was a child sex abuser, which how they got that from photographs of an unknown seabirds from around under the water, I don't know. But this lasted for nearly a year. And I tell you what, it drove me so close to the edge that I very nearly gave the whole thing up. And if it hadn't been for some very close friends, one in particular who managed to unearth the person responsible for this trolling and stop him doing it. How he did it, I don't know. I don't want to know. But if it hadn't been for him, I would probably not be here talking to you guys today. But there is something very strange, especially in the west of Ireland, and I've got absolutely no idea about the Lough Erne picture. I've not seen it before today, and it's wonderful. It looks splendid, like a huge spider, but I think that's unlikely.
And your video, that video has got over 500,000 views, isn't it? Your Lake Monster video. It's pretty good. Not bad going.
All right,
let's go back to the story. Walsh.
I wish more people would watch
Anyway.
like this. Wouldn't it be nice if 500,000 people watching you and I are talking?
Yeah, they would. Think of that. But anyway, let's go back to the story. So Walsh took the film to a local professional photographer, Ray Riley, to check for faults. Ray confirmed that the film had not been tampered with, though that doesn't necessarily mean that it shows a monster. Walsh himself told the Sunday People that he had no doubt that the creature was real and said, "I don't know what it is, but there's something in the water. It has been there for years. There have been several sightings, and people say it's up to 8 feet long with a spiky head. It's bizarre." The report also said the creature is thought to be some 300 pounds in weight. In a rather suggestive paragraph, Walsh revealed that he had had 2 previous body contacts. The first one was some 25 years ago, close to where where Miss Westridge had hers, he said of the encounter, "I could feel it between my legs and swimming all around me. It was a strange feeling. I've never been afraid of it. It only seems to appear when there are swimmers in the water." Van Breakers and Alex Moran, the club's chairman, also claims to have seen the piast. Other sightings of the alleged Erne waterway piast have been recorded, according to the article. A horde of Sea Scouts from Dalkeith, County Dublin, reported seeing a creature making a huge splash, while other sightings of the creature have been made along the huge waterway in Enniskillen and Belturbet in County Cavan. Some local theories suggest that the creature is a huge Wells catfish, which can grow up to 15 feet long and weigh a whopping 600 pounds, not beyond the bounds of possibility. Information has it that freshwater whales or Danuban catfish have been found at sizes of 1.52 meters in Europe and up to 5 meters long and 660 pounds in Russia. It has apparently been introduced in parts of southern England. Pike, another possibility, can live up to 30 years and can also grow to a rather frightening 1.5 meters long and weigh up to 77 pounds. They are known to inhabit the Erne, and the pike's prey include fish up to half its own body weight, frogs, rats, ducklings, and similarly, the Wells catfish feeds on fish, frogs, birds, and mammals, and, according to legend, a poodle and a little boy. Sean Walsh has another theory. He reckons that the creature is some form of bait introduced by anglers, which inexplicably thrived in the area. But bait that grows up to 8 foot long, I am not sure about that. Walsh apparently called in a friend, an Irish police detective, to look at into the existence of the creature, despite the fact that Welsh himself said that "I have no doubt that the creature exists." Plus, would an ichthyologist be more useful than a detective in this case? So, surprisingly enough, for the dozens of Irish lake monsters stories that we have come across, this is the first from Cavan. Why surprising? County Cavan is a county beset with lakes and waterways. It seems impossible to drive for more than 2 minutes from any lake without encountering another. The Erne, a long, infinity tangled river, flows through lakes of its own and hits the sea in Ballyshannon, County Donegal. Yes, so one theory which I'm in favour of is that we're actually looking at what we're looking at in the photo is a bug on the lens of the camera. And once that's been suggested, it's difficult not to see anything else. So what are we looking at there? Bug or monster? Something more mysterious? We're not sure. But there you have it. Is there a monster looking in the depths of Lough Erne? Or do you have to be piast to see the piast? Thank you.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And there's the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little house, will tell you. Don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you won't be told when the next episode's gonna be. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it? And that's about it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to say a big thank you to everyone but for whom the show wouldn't have been made, particularly my producer Louis, to Miss Isabel, and to my guests, who were HidDenmark, I always say that wrong, to my guests, who were Thomas and Simon from HidDenmark and the irrepressible Ian Squibbs. I'll be back on Wednesday when we have a book review, and I'll be back next Saturday when we have... In fact, I have no idea what's happening next Saturday. But if I'm there presenting it and doing a live chat and all that stuff, and you're there watching, yes, Mr. McCrinnan, it's you I'm talking to, I'll be seeing you.